it's me, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. As you can see from my background, I am back at home. I've been here for about a week, and I'm feeling absolutely fantastic. Happy to come back to you and give you all of these great jewels that I feel like that I have acquired over the last few weeks or so. I also wanted to thank you so much for being so supportive during my vlogs in Costa Rica. I don't normally do that, but I really enjoyed sharing my time with you. If you're new to this channel, thank you so much, as always, for coming and joining me today. Please, 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 if you stay long enough to subscribe. And staying long enough to subscribe is basically a little over 3 seconds. So technically you've already been on 3 seconds or more, and you should hit that subscribe button. In the interim, please like, share, comment, do all those other good things. Of course, if you are an OG, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate you as always, because you know what I do for you. As we start on this Tuesday, I wanted to come at you with just something that I've been really pondering over the last couple of weeks, and what I have really come to the fruition in my brain of things that need to come to pass. That was a lot to say, right? And what I mean by that is, I'm always preaching authentic, living life authentic, being authentic, being authentic. But I realize that most of the people that I've been talking to about it were really under the impression that I was trying to say that being authentic was somehow perfect. And what I wanted to really just make clear is that being authentic has absolutely nothing to do with perfection. Think of it this way. Being perfect is not authentic, but being authentic is perfect. And what I mean by that is that you are you, and you're going to come the way that you need to come. You're going to bring exactly what you need to bring to the table. And sometimes it gets convoluted because we interact with people who are not ready to receive or embrace what you bring. They may have thought it upon themselves to think that you should have something else in your life. You should be about something else. You should have a different career path. I mean, have you ever noticed that everyone has an opinion about your life, but typically the people who do that don't really have a strong sense of their own? I realize that the case that is the simple identity that people really find it more intriguing to stay out of their own business and to poke at yours, because to be within their own business, they would have to be accountable. And if they can be in your life, then that means that it allows them the opportunity to not look at themselves and to simply try to pass judgment. And if you say that concept to yourself, then you understand why when I am preaching this thing about being authentic, I want to be super clear in you understanding that I am not preaching perfection. I am not preaching the ability to just overcome everything and anything without some sense of dismay or without some sense of trial or fear or anguish in your life. Like, being authentic is really understanding that the imperfections of who you are in your circumstances and your relationships and your whatever, right? Your money, your living, whatever it is your authentic self. And what makes it your authentic self is that it's your process. When you think of it from that manner, it gets into the space of you understanding it is truly unadulterated, your ability to maneuver and be what it is. If you then don't allow yourself the room to be imperfect, then you can kind of see how you get sidetracked by really trying to fix things that maybe didn't need to be fixed. Maybe you needed to do something and it was going to go wrong in order for you to be on a path that was going to take you to the person or the situation that you needed to fix or to adjust. So instead of being so caught up on everything that's wrong, think about the positive. It's a known mathematical scientific fact that 50% of us focus 5 times more on the negative than we do the positive. I would tell you that I think the number is higher than 50%. I would probably say 99.9% of us actually focus more on the negative than the positive. But to put more on it and say that more could be 5 times more, you could see why I'm really trying to make sure today we talk about perfection is not necessarily authentic. I would almost bank on it is not authentic, because in order to be perfect, you would have to then envelop the idea that whomever would perceive what you're doing would have to say also that it's perfect. because we're literally talking about perfection being validated through others. Being authentic means that the validation starts and ends with you, and you understand your situation, your journey, your trial, your path, whatever that is, in order for you to make it to where you are. It's very complicated sometimes in this idea that we live in of everything is fast. And again, we have our social media platforms, and people are looking at each other's lives and really trying to emulate or somehow feel as if you are their equal, or you should have it also. Or my favorite is like, well, I can have that too. I don't think that should necessarily be the issue, but the issue remains for you not to understand that whatever the path is for you to get to what it is that you're wanting is where you have to remain authentic. It's not a position of basically anything in the world being in a position where someone else can't acquire it, right? I mean, if we're talking about a house, we're talking about a car. For women, if we're talking about clothes or some type of fashion, for the most part, they don't make anything in a one-of-a-kind scenario anymore. Even the things that are necessarily one-of-a-kind would still classify somewhere between, maybe 50 made, 100 made, so forth. So if you catch what I'm saying, there's never anything that anyone should feel as if they can have that someone else has or doesn't have. It's a position of you understanding that your idea of what that is has to then come from a genuine place of not feeling as if you're striving for that type of what you would call perfection, or that type of success, or that type of relationship, because you really don't know what that is or what it's been. You only can see it on the backside. You can only see what you can see and what the person has allowed you to see. So it gets a little tricky when you're trying to walk in this perfect manner, and typically you're making up pathways of what you think a person has done or what you assume could have transpired for them to make whatever you see them, like I said, on social media platforms producing. But you have to not do that as much as you would then look at yourself, set your goals, and create your own pathway. A lot of us talk about staying in our own lane. I think that's absolutely great to say, but again, I've said in other videos, it's an absolute cliche. There's no way to do anything that's not community-based within the world outside of your mindset. And that sounds crazy when you think about it, but let's just talk about COVID for 2 seconds and say, how many people have actually been vaccinated against how many people have not been vaccinated? And the people that have not been vaccinated would say that it's their right that they're not vaccinated. And the people who have been vaccinated would argue that the unvaccinated person should vaccinate. The truth remains is that we live in a community. No matter how individual we want to be, we live in a community standpoint. And what I mean by that is there's no way to necessarily be in your own lane, but I like to say that you can create little hiccups and bumps along the way of a road that for the most part has been built. Typically, we all have ideas. Some of us run with the ideas, some of us do not. Some of us have the tenacious attitude to stay consistent with it, some of us do not. But the irony is that I would bank on almost every idea that's ever been out, it's ever been about, was given to multiple people. Imagine this. But only one person was willing to do what it took to actually make it work, which is why I say, when I think about the idea of staying in my own lane, it gets a little deeper for me. It doesn't mean that I don't believe it. It makes me say it in a manner to understand that the opportunity is there for everyone across the board. Like, social media came about because a multitude of people would have thought about it, but only one person, 2 people, tops, would have then actually done the work to make it work. And I say that because I honestly believe we all have greatness within us. And if you believe that, then there's no way to really believe that somebody would get something great and someone wouldn't. It means that we all have the opportunity to get the great. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. We all have the same idea of 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes. It's always a choice to make, right? There's always an identity in that to decide what that looks like. And when we're talking about perfection, we have to be clear on where we're defining this perfection to come from. Is that perfection coming from within ourselves, or is that perfection coming from the idea of what someone else has done and we're trying to get to wherever they are in what we identify as perfect? Or is it the idea of just looking great and not really being in any space of being perfect, but just giving the illusion? I want to share with you today that the truth about being authentic is it's really a raw place. It's really a place that is uncharted. It's really a place of grasping every idea in your head is probable, meaning you are able to come up with something for it and not worry about what it looks like to others, or if they understand it, or if they're irritated by it, or if they're going to back you, or if you're going to be in any position of, how can I say this without any position of being anything more than what you're supposed to be. Everybody wants to be a chief. It's the funniest thing to me. I mean, everybody wants nowadays to say, I'm a self-employed person, I'm my own boss, and blah, 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 blah. And I am not going to be the person that sits on this video and say that that's impossible to do. But I would like to point out that there is few and far between chiefs and Indians in the world, meaning there are definitely more Indians than there are chiefs. And the few people in the world who would identify as chiefs have something unique about them, something that is completely proprietarial to them. And although I just said what I said, which is there's greatness in everyone, there's nothing not great about being an Indian. And I think that's the point. That's the part of like being authentic and being perfect. Is like when we think perfect, we think the top, we think the best, we think the leader, however you want to look at that. And I'm just trying to express it's not always that. I mean, I absolutely am a fantastic leader, but I'm a great student as well. I promise you I am. And what I mean by that is that everything for me is not about leading. Everything for me is not about being the person that's in charge. Everything for me is not being the, oh my God, she's so great. Everything for me is not that. And I learned that from a great leader. Because people who cannot really learn can never be a leader. In order to actually lead, you have to be a great student. And it's something that happens so many times in our lifetime that I don't think we really understand it. A lot of times you want to just never go back to being in a place of learning, but you have to learn. You have to understand that you don't have all the answers. You have to understand that you are not able to always say that I know what's best in every situation. There's some situations that you just have to be smart enough to know you haven't given 100% in and 70% won't do. 80% won't do. You have to be willing to give the 100% of your knowledge base to that particular subject. So I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to come out and say, I absolutely believe that we all are great. I absolutely believe that we all have the ability to be fantastic and greatness is in us. But I also believe that we need to step back and take an idea of like what being authentic is and understand that it is not perfection. And understand that in order for you to understand that, you have to be willing to learn. And therefore, you have to be willing to be a student. You cannot continuously walk through life with the I know it all, because I promise you, you do not. On every level, on every tier, there has to be something or someone that you can lean on and understand. Understand that even the people in the world that we identify to be, unbelievably successful, all have people that they console with or they counsel with in order to make sure everything is up to par, because they've understood from a very, very, very base foundation of their businesses that they needed a team, and the team was going to then delegate off for all of the things that they didn't know. Can you learn them? Sure. Can you perfect everything? Absolutely not. Now we're right back to that statement of perfection is not authentic, but authenticity is perfect. So hopefully that can help you a little bit. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much. Of course, my first video back, so I may be all over the place. Bear with me. But like I said, if you have stuck around this long, you already know the drill. Hit that button, hit the notification button so that you know when I am literally up and posting. You know the drill on the like and the share. Comments have been fantastic. Inboxes have been fantastic. Let me know in the comments if you need my email for anything additional, because I haven't been putting it up it somehow kind of deterred people from actually putting up comments, so I took it down. But if there's something that you still need, let me know. I will put that up. Otherwise, you know the drill. Do those 3 things that I'm always asking. Live life authentic. Always understand that your authenticity is not to be identified as perfect. It is not. It is simply to be yours. And in your imperfectness, understand that you are perfect. Okay? Okay. Fantastic. I will see you Thursday. And as always, have a blessed day. Bye-bye.